I'm going to talk about some of the tips for listening better as a musician. And you can be putting these tips into action straight away. They don't require any skill necessarily. It just requires a bit of focus and a little bit of time to set aside to do these exercises. Let's get your ears into gear. These are my tips for listening better, listening more like a musician, right? The first thing is to ready your environment. It won't help you to be bombarded by outside noises and movement. So find somewhere quiet and comfortable, but not too comfortable, obviously. You don't want to fall asleep. The other thing is your playback method. So the way you're listening to music can make it easier or harder for you to hear different nuances in what you're hearing. The better quality stereo speakers or headphones you have or can afford, the clearer you will hear the different aspects of the music. Because when we hear music in stereo, so with our left and right, they're actually able to create, by mixing how much left and how much right in terms of headphones or speakers, they're actually able to give you almost the illusion of a full spectrum of sound. At the least, you want to have stereo, which can just mean headphones, right? And if all you have is earbuds, then that's fine. Don't get too mixed up about it. But what we don't want to do is just listen to a song through our little phone speaker, because that is a mono, that's a mono speaker. So you're not going to get the full breadth. It's going to be way more difficult for you to hear the different instruments in that recording. Is to pick a song that you love, because when you are listening, the idea, certainly in the Ear Bootcamp, is to listen to one song over multiple times. So you want to choose something that you are going to enjoy listening to a bunch of times. You want to choose something that is a nuanced song, something that has got a lot of different instruments in it, so there's more things for you to pick out. You don't want to be too long, because you're going to be repeating your listens. You're going to be listening to a bunch of times. So the longer the song is, the sort of more hard work you're making for yourself, especially when you're starting to listen actively. We're going to practice listening as a primary activity, blocking out distractions and inviting no other mediums to crowd your senses. Like putting on your favorite record, sitting comfortably somewhere quiet, closing your eyes and just listening. When was the last time you did that? It's so hard for us to close our eyes while we're listening. We always want to be looking around us, or if we're listening, we're like on our phone. But when we reduce the amount of senses that are working, then we can heighten our sense of listening. Now, tip 4 is to listen in layers. So once you have all those things, you've got the idea, you're going to have to switch your ears on when you're listening. We're going to be listening for different things every time you hear the song. Most people find that when they hear a song more and more and more, they become more familiar with it. And as you become more familiar with it, the less you hear it. Like I was saying about when you're so familiar with someone's voice, like a spouse or a parent, it becomes easier to block it out, right? The first time you hear a song, everything is completely new. Each part of the song that you notice, if you notice it individually, is a complete surprise. So things will jump out at you, right? And you'll go, oh, that's interesting. Oh, what's going to happen next? That's interesting. But you never get that first listen where those surprises, you don't really get that back. As you hear the song a second time, a third, fourth, fifth, sixth time, each time you hear it, you have less of that new and surprising feeling as you become more familiar with the song. And so it sinks further into the background of whatever else is getting your attention, right? But when we listen like musicians, every repeat listen is another opportunity to uncover a new layer. We continue to find something new and surprising each time we listen to a recording. And the final tip is to repeat listens to uncover more details. So I was saying listening in layers, but you want to repeat listens to uncover even more details and challenge yourself to find more details. As you listen to a song more times, you will uncover more layers you didn't hear before. It might not always be a different instrument. Layers can include subtleties, textures that instruments might play in one section but differently in another section, especially if they're live instruments. Musicians, often are doing slightly different expressions between one section and another. They might include embellishments that differ in different sections, dynamic changes, meter changes, so a change in the type and the counting of the song. There might be key changes. There might be many details to hear when you treat it like a challenge and you're really trying to find all those interesting little bits that have gone to making the song into what it is. Once you are putting these 5 tips into action, you are beginning to train your ears to do the work you need them to do. Training your ears is just like training any other muscle. As your ears become more in tune to make more detailed observations, you'll start to truly feel that playing by ear is just an extension of that skill rather than some mysterious magical power, right? Which is, I know is what we all think, right? Is what everyone thinks is a mysterious God-given talent. If God didn't give it to you, you don't have it, right? But once you start to listen in layers and uncover more details in the songs you hear, that is the very work that we need to do in order to start getting our ears working harder. So, of course, you are invited to discover how to take your active listening to the next level with deeper observations and prepare for playing piano by ear. And we do that with my 5-day ear bootcamp called it's called 5 Days to a Better Musical Ear. If you want to go and check that out, all you have to do is go to my.pianopicnic.com/ear-bootcamp. Fantastic.